us the difference between repeal and replace BSL in Denver and kind of what you mean by each of those?
Yes. So ultimately, we want to repeal BSL. We want to get rid of it. It is a law that doesn't work. It's a law that discriminates, and we want to be done with it. Unfortunately, within Denver, we were going against an uphill battle. The mayor of Denver was very vocal that he did not want this law to change. Two people that sit on city council were a part of creating this ban 30 years ago, and we knew that we did not have the numbers to vote for an outright repeal. So we worked with Councilman Herndon. We created a new law that would be a replacement. And after 5 years, there would be city council would review it, and then it would disappear. And every dog would be just the same within Denver. So we unfortunately could not do a repeal right away, but that is our ultimate goal.
Got it.
And so, Quinn, talking about replacing, can you talk about what is this legislation going to do? What is it going to replace BSL with specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. People keep thinking it's going to be like this outrageous thing that people have to do that own Pitbull type dogs. It's not. We're actually just asking them to do the normal things. You have to register your dog. You have to obey by the leash laws. You have to spay, neuter, chip, and then there is a little bit higher of a permit fee, and that's for the dangerous dog law. And then after so it's a 3-year probation for your dog. If you have no incidences in 3 years, and your dog is like every other dog in Denver. Yeah. If there is an instance where there was a bite or aggression, animal control will look into it, and then your clock starts over again from day one. You have another 3 years. So this is to get pit bulls into the area. I mean, if you're from Denver, you walk around, you see bully breeds everywhere. They're here. So let's make it so that they can be here legally, and we can get them, to socialize with other dogs, and, get this really under control where everyone is being a responsible owner.
Yeah. So could you speak to a little bit? So like in what you're saying and hearing that the bully breeds are definitely in the Denver area, can you speak to what the reality is for a Denver resident that does have a bully-esque breed? What does that look like, and what will that look like in November when the replace goes into effect, hopefully with everyone voting?
Yeah, so like I said, there are bully breeds in the Denver area. You just have to walk around and see them. Obviously within like apartment buildings, they can't reside here, but people that rent out their houses, not through a management company, or they own their own property, people aren't really doing the research to see if you have a bully breed. So how it's going to work is the vote happens November 3rd. Vote yes on 2J. It will then take into effect January 1. And I know the number one question and concern that people have are, okay, it passes, it goes into effect January 1. What happens after 5 years and they decide, they don't want this, and it goes back to having a breed ban? So how that's going to work is they would have to do what we did. So it can't just automatically go back to BSL. They would have to, someone on city council would have to put into effect, go through all the channels that we did, which was go through a vote, have people vote on it, and then to get the BSL ban back in place. That's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, and it's very unlikely that it would happen. If it does, then it would take into effect the grandfather, they would grandfather in all the Pitbull type dogs that are residing in Denver. That's what they did 30 years ago, and that is most likely what would happen if they wanted to create BSL again.
Wow.
That is great information, and good to know that, a switch wouldn't be flipped and then all of a sudden your dog is illegal again.
Right. And they've been registered for 5 years, and they're not just gonna, they can't just come in and take your dog and all that. They'll have to go through specific channels, and obviously everyone would be notified, but that is a blue moon, far-fetched thing that might happen. We don't think that it ever would.
Got it. So just speaking to the reality for, people that don't have a pit bull type dog living in Denver, what is that like if you do have a pit bull type, like, just so I can understand the mindset for people listening that might have friends in Denver that they can call in, because I think that a lot of times you don't understand the reality until you're in those shoes. So could you articulate what that's like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, if people are living here with a pit bull type dog, it is constant fear. You could have anyone call animal control and report you that you have this dog. Animal control is not just going to come and take your dog. They are going to give you a warning, but your options are to move or to get your dog taken away eventually. Those are your only two options. So people that have these types of dogs are living in fear. They don't want to take chances. So I know a lot of people that I know have left Denver or will never move to Denver because of this. And we are supposed to be a young, progressive, growing city, and you are discriminating against a huge population of people to not allow them to come into your city and let it flourish.
Yeah. That's
so, and Quinn, so to build on your question, Lauren, why should people who don't, let's say they don't even have a dog, why should they care about this bill? And I'm going to lead you a little bit here, but I'm talking specifically about tax dollars.
Yes. So it is so expensive. This bill that has been in place for 30 years has cost taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. This is 30 years of your money that is going to something that does not work. All of the money that should be going to something like this should be going to dog parks. It should be going to training, education, shelters. It should be going to the park rangers. We obviously believe in leash laws. We want dogs to be able to live in peace with other dogs. And that requires you to have owner responsibility. So currently, if you are a taxpayer in Denver, you are paying taxes on this bill or on this law that does not work. And you are literally just giving your money away to the city of Denver to have it do nothing for you. It's not keeping us safe. It's not making the community better. So Denver residents have spent millions, tens of millions of dollars over the last 30 years on this.
And let's be clear, in the last 30 years since BSL has been in place, there have been dog bites, right? There have been plenty of dog bites, and fairly low percentage has been allocated. Oh, shoot. Did I just disappear? Sorry. So let's be clear, in case we need to edit this. Let's be clear, in the last 30 years since BSL has been happening, there have been dog bites, right? Yeah. This legislation has not prevented dog attacks or dog bites. And in fact, of those dog bites, I don't know if you have the exact figure of how many actually were attributed to pit bull type dogs. But I think I read somewhere that it was like 4%.
Yeah, it's something very low. I don't have the exact numbers. I definitely can look it up after this and share it with you. But it's astounding how low it is. And the funny thing is that Labradors are 1 point below a pit bull type dog. We're not going to go about banning America's dog. I mean, it's like the family dog. You're not going to do that. So, you just really have to realize that it needs to be on the owner. And we need to make sure that they're taking care and training their dog accordingly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the onus should be on a dog owner, because it shouldn't fall to just an aesthetic of a certain dog. It should be, Fluffy is exactly the same as Fido, and they just have to play together, and everyone has to behave so that each dog can have the best health, wellness, all of those things. but I also think that that's probably a distinguishment of younger pet owners that Denver is full of, that would be full of those kind of caring, loving pet owners, that if you're, you know, really saying you can't have this certain type of dog, it just causes people to resort to things, and it has to affect, you know, dogs and adoption and rescue and all of those things that we know are full of bully type breeds.
Yeah, and to kind of add a little bit, because, you know, we're obviously starting to do a lot more outreach within Denver, and we don't get a lot of bad comments. We get a lot of positive, but the two things that people constantly say of why they might not be voting yes on 2J, one is leash laws, and one is picking up poop. Those are literally the two concerns.
Wait. They're not gonna. They don't want this bill because they have to pick up their dog's poop or get fined.
They're upset that people that are already residing in Denver don't pick up after their dog. Those are the complaints. So to address that requires to have more money allocated to Parks and Rec to be able to monitor those things. If you're not paying for BSL, then during the budget meeting that's going to be happening in 2021, the number one goal for Councilman Herndon is to take that money and allocate it to other places, which is animal control, Parks and Rec. Wow. So they can hire more people, and those people can actually do their job and monitor leash laws and monitor you picking up after your furry friend.
I mean, this sounds like, even if BSL wasn't a thing, this bill sounds like it should be in place regardless, because it's good for the city and it's good to enforce responsible pet ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. And it probably encourages more dogs to be registered, as opposed to, I would think that a lot of dogs, if they have a certain aesthetic, probably live in the shadows, I would think.
Right. Yes, yep. Exactly. And we are also going to be advocating, you know, we want you to register your dog, not even if you are a Pitbull type dog owner. Everyone should register their dog. And it's astounding the percentage of people that actually do it. That was another concern that City Council had. Well, people aren't registering their dogs. I don't know what to tell you. If we get this passed, Pitbull owners are going to be registering their dogs. They want this to work. Yeah. Like, they're going to be doing it. So maybe we should also take that money and be educating our, you know, Denverites that they need to register their dogs and be responsible owners. So yeah. It's a funny concept.
Well, I think it's a little bit, it's a double-edged sword, that it's a lose-lose situation right now, that if they're purely going based off of an aesthetic to do BSL, you're in a no-win position, because no one's going to willingly register their pup knowing that it could be prejudiced against, called, they would have to move. Like, that creates such a no-win situation for their taxpayers. If it was me, I would 100% live in the shadows, because I would be like, this is not gonna work.